Hey guys, how are you? Whoa, that really set. Woohoo! This is Joyce at Medusa Was Framed. I think this is my fourth, maybe fifth video of the day. I've made videos for you here at my reading table, and I've made videos for you at my favorite place, actually, which is the coffee table on the floor, because I'm a heathen by nature and I like to sit on the floor. I like to sleep on the floor. I like to sit on the floor. I don't like chairs very much. I'm such a heathen. Okay, so here we are. Medusa readings. Human Tuning by the one and only Dr. John Bulow. I think this is 11. Dr. Bulow was a student of Dr. Randolph Stone, the creator of polarity therapy. If you are a massage therapist worth anything, then you are familiar with polarity therapy and Dr. Stone. If you are a massage therapist not worth anything, then you don't know anything about polarity therapy or Dr. Stone. And I got no problem saying that. So we started the Fibonacci yesterday. It's dark now. It's actually after 9 p.m. I've got my ring on, and I don't know, you can't see my Fibonacci forks. We were working with the solar harmonic, and now we're working with the Fibonacci's. There's a lot to explain here. So actually, this is a very long section, and I don't know if I'm going to go through the whole thing or not. Let's see how we feel. It's 13 pages. If we go through the whole section, that just might be a little bit too much. Let's see. Let's get started and see how this feels. Okay, yesterday I gave you the introduction. Fibonacci, think of a shell. Think of a shell and the way the shell keeps opening up and the spiral gets larger. That's the Fibonacci. That's the way everything living grows. So let's continue here. Alternate reality transition. The key to learning how to transition into alternate realities is what consciousness researchers call set, setting, and method. Set is the first principle of transition and refers to the mental and physical preparation necessary to transition to an alternate reality. Setting is the second principle of alternate reality transition and refers to the right environment for transition. Method is the third principle of alternate reality transition and refers to the method of transition, i.e., the Fibonacci tuning forks. Set. Set begins with understanding the purpose for the transition. Understanding purpose sets a mental tone that resonates with a congruent alternative reality. Some examples of healing / well-being purposes might be to enhance creativity, to discover the source of a disease in order to make changes, to improve a relationship, to heal an addiction, to heal a trauma, to become a better athlete, to discover new ideas for solving a problem. Compare these positive outcome purposes with a to get high. Although it can be argued that getting high is a form of recreation, the purpose is that getting high is not clearly defined. Why would you want to get high? If getting high is for recreation, then the proper purpose would be to take a vacation for rest and relaxation. Transitioning with the purpose of getting high is like spinning a roulette wheel and hoping for a positive outcome. For example, if the person transitioning has an unconscious, unresolved conflict, it may appear in an alternative reality and overwhelm his defenses. This is what is called a bad trip. The physical part of set requires that the body be relaxed. The more consciousness and systemic the relaxation, the better. The idea of relaxation resonates with the interval of a perfect fifth and is discussed in depth in the chapter on ideal nervous system tuning, which is several readings back. I don't remember which one. The primary reason for being relaxed is simple. Imagine going to a concert after a day of stress without being able to relax and let go. The music has the potential to take you to wonderful places, but you cannot go because your body is locked into the reality of stress. The more you're able to relax and let go, the more you're able to allow the sound to take you places. In ancient cultures, the body was prepared, for transitional experiences by taking therapeutic baths, applying essential oils, gentle exercise, neutral music, good food, and a regular pattern of waking and sleeping. These methods still work today. We call them the spa experience or a retreat experience. Our modern day spas are based on the nature cures of Europe, which have been roots in the dream temples of ancient Greece. Today, the purpose of the spa experience is to take a vacation. It's a time for rest and relaxation. However, in ancient cultures, the spa experiences was a preparation for healing, for exploring alternative realities. Setting. The main requirement for setting is a safe environment. This may be a special room in your home, a healer's office, a church, a temple, or a quiet, secluded place in nature. You may be alone, or you may be with others. If you are with others, make sure you trust them and they are congruent with your intentions. If you are working with a healer, make sure the healer understands and supports your transition. The holy men of the Far East, the priests of ancient Greece, the indigenous shamans from around the world understand the importance of a safe environment. The ancient Greeks knew that sound had the power to alter consciousness, and listeners were supervised by initiated priests and priestesses who knew the importance of proper guidance. In ancient Greece, music was played using lyres tuned to the same Pythagorean intervals as modern biosonic tuning forks. Biosonics, that's John Bullo's company. Greek lyres are played in temples which are designed with the same Pythagorean intervals used to tone the lyre. The following diagram demonstrates the waveform, the musical interval of the Athenian temple of Pyrene from the 4th century BC. Let's see if you can see that. That's the temple, and that's an illustration of that Pythagorean fibonacci unwinding. Take a minute and see this in here. Notice how the temple architecture creates within it a golden mean spiral, which is the basis for the exploration of consciousness using Fibonacci tuning forks. The Greeks visited these temples for healing and entering into higher states of consciousness to commune with gods and goddesses. When they listened to the sound of the lyre within the temple, the resonance between the listener and the temple architecture created the space to transport them into alternative realities. The great churches of Europe were built according to musical proportions, the intervals of Gregorian chants, based on Pythagorean tunings, were sung in churches whose architectural proportions were the same as the musical intervals of the chants. The sounds of the Gregorian chants, combined with the musical architecture of the church, created a resonant environment for healing. Like tuning forks, they led people to higher states of consciousness. So if you remember back when we were going through the solar harmonics, okay, and we get back here into the Petruvian man, right? And the relationships between thirds. The relationships between thirds. We again see those thirds illustrated. If these are calipers, you see the thirds represented in Notre Dame. Notre Dame was not built as a church. It was a sonic hospital, just like Chartres, just like all of the pyramids all over the world, just like Rosslyn Chapel. Shamans, or healers, from indigenous cultures around the world understand the power of right environment. An accomplished shaman spends hours, even days, preparing the right environment for people to enter into altered states of consciousness. When everything is just right, he uses the sounds of the rhythms of drums, rattles, and whistles, like tuning forks. The people experiencing the shamanic trance speak of a waking dream when they journey to different worlds, talk with wise beings, meet power animals, and reintegrate disassociated parts of their selves. Method. Method is the way to get there, the transition. Sound has been used to help people transition into other realities for thousands of years in many different forms, which include mantras, drumming music, chanting, whistles, and singing bowls. The Pythagorean and Fibonacci tuning forks are a modern addition to that long tradition. Here is how the Fibonacci tuning forks work. The best way to understand the Fibonacci tuning forks is to experience each interval and explore its effects. The first 4 Fibonacci tuning forks, unison 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 5. 1, 1. Oh, it's sliding. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5. The first 4 Fibonacci tuning forks are Pythagorean intervals that are part of the solar harmonic spectrum. The next 4 Fibonacci tuning parts are congruent with Pythagorean tuning, but not traditional musical intervals. Since they are not normal musical tones, they're given ratio designations. They are 5/8, 8/13, 13/21, and 21/34. First, lay out the Fibonacci tuning forks. And there they are. If you have a solar harmonic, you only need the last 4 Fibonacci's. So if you have a, I kicked my thing. If you have a full solar harmonic spectrum set, which I do, you only need the last 4 of these. But I have a full set of both because I'm just that way. The equivalence between the solar harmonic set and the Fibonacci tuning forks are given in the table. So here it explains. On top we have the Fibonacci's, which are numerical ratios. And beneath that we have the equivalent in the solar harmonics. So 1, 1 is the equivalent of the beginning of the solar harmonic, which is C 256. One, 2 is C 512. So it's the C at the other end of the scale. So if it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C starts the new octave over. So 1, 2 is the other C. In the solar harmonic, it goes C to C, like a piano key. So the 2, 1 in the Fibonacci is like the C 512, the other side of the solar harmonic. Two, 3 is G 384, and you will remember if you've been listening that the C 256 and the G 384 create the perfect fifth, which he was talking about. So this is the G. And the G with the C 256 create the perfect fifth. And if you're going to start with tuning forks, don't buy a big set like this for a couple $100. Start with the perfect fifth, or with C 128. Auto start there. The 3, 5 is the A in the solar harmonic spectrum. C, D, E, F, G, A. And the rest are not equated to the solar harmonic spectrum. So my interjects. But I'll let you hear the rest anyway. 5, 3. So this is 815. 8, 5. Fibonacci. Think of a shell as it unwinds, or a leaf, or a rose bud that starts to open. 13, 8. A rose unwinding, a fern frond uncoiling. That's what we're looking at here. The natural movement. And finally, 2134. All the uncoiling. Once you have correctly laid out the Fibonacci tuning forks, the next step is to create the intervals you want to work with. The best way to use the Fibonacci tuning forks is to hold 3 or more in one hand and tap them with the C. That's the same way you play the solar harmonics. And Dr. John refers to that as overtones. When you hit the forks directly onto each other, he refers to that as overtones. If you use a hockey puck or your theme are eminence on your hand or your knee or your hip, then that's a different type of activation. This amplifies the beat frequencies or differences between them and creates a seashell effect. The seashell unraveling. You put the seashell up to your ear and you hear it. The beat frequencies are what attracts our hearing into different levels of spiral through entrainment of different brain centers. Entrainment is when you play a tone and the part of your brain that is stimulated by that tone tries to create a frequency with it. That's entrainment. If you want to meditate on different Fibonacci intervals using the knee tap technique, where you literally tap it on your knee, which I can't show you because my knees are under the table. If you want to meditate on different Fibonacci intervals using the knee tap technique, you should realize that the Fibonacci tuning forks are tuned very close together. Therefore, the differences between the tones are sometimes challenging to hear when using the knee tap technique to isolate one interval. However, it's also possible to meditate on a single Fibonacci interval as long as it's understood that it takes some practice to hear the different beats. And even if you could not consciously hear them, you know what is happening. Okay, I'm going to read this next section. And then he starts going into the function of each sequence of the fork, and I'm going to stop there, and that'll be tomorrow. So, alchemy of sound, exploring the Fibonacci intervals. The following description of the Fibonacci intervals, based on the ascent of consciousness along the pituitary pineal axis, is called the alchemy of sound. The different centers along the pituitary pineal axis are called brain stars by Paracelsus, the Swiss physician and alchemist who was the grandfather of our modern medicine. The activation of brain stars is associated with inner voices, light beings, angels, devas, and magical alternate realities. Modern molecular research may be related to the brain stars of Paracelsus through the activation of endogenous opiate, cannabinoid, and tryptophan molecules. I'm going to read that again. Modern molecular research may be related to the brain stars of Paracelsus through the activation of endogenous opiate, cannabinoid, and tryptamine molecules. These molecules have long been associated with altered states of consciousness, dreaming, and the near-death experience. Opiate molecules, known as endorphins, are responsible for the inner calm, sometimes called runner's high, that's experienced by athletes. Cannabinoid molecules are termed anandamide, which comes from the Sanskrit term ananda. Let me read that over. I got jiggled. Cannabinoid molecules are termed anandamide, which comes from the Sanskrit term ananda, which means bliss. Tryptamine molecules include melatonin, the molecule of dreams, and ayahuasca, which is used by South American shamans to induce altered states. The alchemy of sound views these molecules as naturally occurring, i.e., made within your own body, as part of a gestalt of set, setting, and method. They are markers of different sets of consciousness. It is said that when you are ready, the teacher appears. In this case, the vehicle is sound, and within the sound, the voice of the teacher is heard. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop, because now he starts breaking down. See, it's like 8 pages of each sequence. So we're going to stop right there today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an overtone of each one for you. So you can just close your eyes if you want. So we're going to use the C256, which is 1-1 in the Fibonacci, and we're going to move up the sequence. So this is the C256 with the C512, which in the Fibonacci is 2-1. 1, 1 is the C. Next, we come to the 3-2, which in the solar harmonic spectrum is the G384, the C258 with the 384 makes the perfect fifth, the Vesica Pisces. I'm sorry for the cars outside. I live right next to a busy street and the door's open. Okay, here we go. Using the overtone, tapping the forks together, which you heard him talk about in this case because the tones are so close together. This creates that seashell effect, which is more effective than using a hockey puck or the thenar eminence on your hand or your knee. So this is the perfect fifth. Now we move to the equivalent of the A in the solar harmonic spectrum. It's 5-8 on the Fibonacci. It is the A of the solar harmonic spectrum. The solar harmonic spectrum, if you think of a piano, it's going from middle C to top C. And this is the A, the equivalent of the A that's in the middle. So this is C, 256, middle C, with the A, which is D, E, F, G, A, 5 steps up. So these first four have equivalents to the solar harmonic. Now we're moving into the Fibonacci's that have no equivalent. So again, we're using the C256, middle C, 1, 1 in the Fibonacci with the 5-8. And you can hear that's just a little bit upscale and flat from the last tone we heard. Just a slight movement in the turning of the shell. Next we move to 6-13, again starting it with middle C, C256. And that's just a little sharp up from the flat before it. Very subtle. Next we have 13-21, activated by middle C, 256. See if you can hear the difference between this and what we just played. Very small change. But I feel it in different parts of my skull. And lastly, 21-34, activated by middle C, 256. Such subtle differences. But again, I don't hear a difference as much as I feel the difference in different parts of my skull. And it's the feeling, not the hearing, that makes sound work so powerful. I can't believe this is still burning. So thank you for hanging out with me. And if you watched all my numerous videos today, my goodness, thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow with the next installment, and we will start talking about what all of these sequences affect. Okay? So this is Joyce. Medusa was framed. Medusa readings with the Auto 128. Thanking you for vibing with me.